it.
That's what I'm talking about.
Wait! Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
For the first time in FIFA Women's World Cup history, we stretch it out to all 32 teams, and it's all happening right here on home soil. This is the Kickoff Show. My name is Ollie Geale, and I'm joined by two Australian legends on both sides of the ball, Melissa Barbieri and, of course, Archie Thompson. Welcome. It's the best time of the year.
It certainly is. Every 4 years we get this little buzz, and for the first time ever, it's in Australia, and I'm hugely excited.
It's going to be good, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And you look at the Matildas, their form coming into this World Cup, home soil, a real good chance of maybe going the whole distance.
This is your one-stop shop for all things World Cup in 2023. So starting with Group B, of course, Australia, Republic of Ireland, Nigeria and Canada. Bubs, where do we start with this?
It's a tough group, to be honest. It's a tough group, but I feel like the Matildas, the way that they've come together under Gustafsson, it's been a really tumultuous journey for them all, but I feel like they're kind of rising at the right time this time. He's had enough time with them to finally get the pieces all put together that he wants, but they do have some tough competition in their group.
Striker to striker, we've got to talk about Sam Kerr. She's been doing fabulous things with Chelsea over in London, and you just got to say that this tournament feels built for her.
Yeah, it does. I just love the way that she goes about her business. Like sometimes too, you won't see her too much involved in a game, but she just needs a ball delivered in an area, and she's always seems to be there.
I've got to say, I mean, as fans, and of course here at home, we're sort of thinking and hoping they're going to go all the way. But what are the expectations and what are the realistic expectations, do you think?
I feel like the girls will have quarterfinals as a minimum because that's the furthest we've ever come. So for the first time ever, 32 teams. They cut out the best placed third team. And so that will put more pressure on a lot of teams to come top two. But I feel like they are at a position now that you get out of quarterfinals, the world's your oyster.
Let's now go back to Group A with New Zealand, Norway, Philippines and Switzerland. And I've got to say the co-host nations, they'll be fairly excited by this group. I think it's a pretty good chance to leave it.
I feel like on the easier side of groups. So I feel like they've got a chance, and especially because they are in the 20s alongside Switzerland in terms of rankings. But I really feel like New Zealand have a chance, but it will still be tough going for the hosts.
All right, let's move on to Group C. This is a really interesting one. Spain, Costa Rica, Zambia and Japan. You would imagine Spain, Japan looking pretty cruisy for them.
I think this is probably the easiest group. You have to just nod your head at the fact that Japan and Spain, they do so well in tournaments. Japan haven't had the best run of form lately coming into the tournament. They kept Mana Iwabuchi at home, which is a big deal for me. She's playing at Tottenham Hotspur at the moment, and to leave someone like her out of your side kind of means they have some firepower.
Of course, Costa Rica making their second appearance and Zambia making their first. That must be, we're probably not expecting a whole heap out of them, but fabulous that they're there and a great experience.
Yeah, look, I love some of these minnows countries coming in because there's so many great stories behind them. Zambia, Costa Rica, well, who knows? Maybe a surprise.
Group D, very interesting one. England, Haiti, Denmark and China. You know that if you can win the Euros, you should be able to win a World Cup, right?
Yeah, I think we can see by the rankings of European teams that still really good European teams have not even made this World Cup. So the likes of England to progress so well through that tournament and then not step up at a World Cup, they have had a lot of injuries. You can't deny them the fact that a majority of their big stars are at home with ACL injuries. But I will say that their next crop of players are just as good because of what their WSL has brought to them.
England do avoid travelling to Perth, and you've got a lot of experience flying up and down the country. What will that be like, do you reckon, for some of these teams that probably don't travel that often, that regularly?
That distance to Perth, where you're looking at the flight and the little bit of time difference, I know that certainly throws teams
People
out.
think that you don't get jet lag, but you actually do.
Yeah, you do.
There are countless times when I've played for, Melbourne teams, and you go to
here
Perth.
she goes. She's talking about herself again. All right, okay.
You wake up and you think, oh, there's no jet lag, but there is. It's 3 hours, but it makes a difference.
Yeah, and it will, and especially too, I think maybe with the heat. I know it might be a little bit hotter up in the Perth, so yeah, only time will tell.
And pretty much battle for second place, right? You
It is.
in this one?
Denmark and China sit 13th and 14th respectively on the ladder in terms of FIFA rankings. So I'll make it even more important, goal difference, and their ability to get a result against England.
Group E, United States, Vietnam, Netherlands and Portugal. This one's fascinating for so many reasons, but of course the US, they're going for their third in a row, which would be history. Can they do it? Will they do it?
I feel like...
Is it can or will?
What
do you think?
Look, I'm going to say can, because I do feel like there's a changing of the guard with the US team.
The game, of course, we'll all be looking out for, Archie, is the States versus the Netherlands, which is a replay of the final in 2019. Do you believe in laying old ghosts to rest like that, and it's an opportunity for the Dutch to kind of right some wrongs?
You draw off past experiences, and as a player, like you want to obviously right those wrongs, like you say. And what Bub said, it's certainly the changing of the guard in terms of like where USA are and how other countries are coming in. It's a really great opportunity for the Netherlands.
Let's move on to Group F, and we want to talk about, of course, France, Jamaica, Brazil and Panama. We're probably going to start, Bubs, looking at the French, and you just feel like if they can get their act together and work a few things out, they'll be an incredibly dominant force.
They did just lose Amandine Henry to a calf injury. She will not be there, so that's one of their top players, but they do have enough to go deep in the tournament.
Look, there's plenty of experience across a few of these teams here, and looking at Brazil in particular, Marta lining up for a 6th World Cup. Can you believe it?
That's incredible. Incredibly consistent too over that period. Like it's hard enough just to be consistent, like week in, week out, but to do it over that span of time and be one of the better players for Brazil. I'd love her to go out in maybe the Brazilian team doing so well.
She reminds me of Messi. So Messi didn't have the World Cup, but he had all these personal individual trophies. And Marta is one of those types of people that would also give up all the individual trophies so that she could bring home a World Cup to Brazil. 2
groups to go. Let's move on to Group G, and in this group we have Sweden, South Africa, Italy and Argentina. You would imagine Sweden pretty much favourites to clinch this group, Bubs.
Yeah, Sweden, but also they're looking ahead. Once they come out of this group, it's Holland or USA.
Final group, Group H, Germany, Morocco, Colombia and South Korea. Much like Sweden, you would imagine Germany pretty much nailed on to top that group.
Yeah, I think Germany have the least amount of troubles in terms of injuries, although they did just lose a player to an ACL, but I feel like Germany have it in their bag of tricks to actually dominate this group quite convincingly, as well as have some minutes left in the bank for a lot of their top players. Pop, for me, is going to be up there in terms of scoring. She's absolutely dominating in the air and doing so well after her injury and missing out on the Euros. So she's really, really motivated to captain this side to victory. For me, the ones that you're going to have to watch out for are Colombia. They didn't qualify for the last World Cup, but did really well in 2015. And so I'm not going to discount Colombia, Morocco, or South Korea. It's like by rankings, South Korea should come second.
Yeah.
But for me, it could be anyone's caper.
So we've got some fascinating games over the next few weeks. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So let's now focus our attention on the possible Golden Boot winner, and then I will get your picks for the overall victors. Golden Boot, Bubs, who are we thinking?
I know people are going to say Alex Morgan, but I'm going to go Pop.
Any reason? Just
I feel like she's at a time in her career that reminds me of Birgit Prince back in the day. So for me, Alexandra Pop is ready to go in terms of scoring capabilities.
Archie, if it couldn't be you, who's going to kick the most amount of goals?
I'll find a way. Don't worry. Look, well, you'd have to say, if you look at the group, I mean, Morgan, you're facing Vietnam, Portugal, Netherlands, and I think it was the last World Cup where she scored 5 goals or something in one of the matches, and then only scored 1, and then went back on account of maybe assists.
Yeah.
So it could be the group that they're in that maybe might persuade me to pick Morgan, but I'm going to go Sam Kerr. I have to.
Respect.
Respect, girl. Yeah, and because, home soil, she's in the form of her life. It's amazing what your home crowd can do.
And who's going to win the whole thing?
I don't know why I'm leaning towards Germany, but since I said Pop for top goal scorer, then I've got to go Germany as well.
Archie?
Zambia.
Sure. Yep. That's what it's.
Hey, look, I'm not like it's. I'm sorry, I spelled that wrong. Australia.
Yeah.
Like I want Australia to win. Like it's like I said, they've built up nicely to come into this tournament. Home soil, and they're not too far off when you look at the odds of going on and winning it. So for me, I have to pick Matildas for sure.
Well, fingers and toes are certainly crossed. That's all we've got time for on the Kickoff Show. Next episode, we'll of course take a bit of a deep dive on the Aussies, so make sure you keep in touch with us. Keep an eye out on all our socials for the next episode. And let's get stuck into the World Cup, eh?
Exciting times.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.